Good morning, Perform24 family. Levi Jaeckel here, back with another video, back at Perform24 in Tampa, Florida. Today, we are going to be talking about your glutes. We're going to be talking about your glutes. We're going to be talking about my glutes, and we're going to be talking about how to train them and get them right. This is a video that, when it came into my mind to film this video, I cannot believe that it took me this long to sit down and have this conversation with you. If you know anything about me or my training, you know that I'm somewhat obsessed with making sure your glutes are functioning properly. Okay, so I think over the last couple of years, glute training has been kind of trendy, right? There's a lot of people doing booty pump this or, peach growth that or whatever the case may be. But glute training is something that I've been interested in for a long time. And for those of you guys that don't know, my background is in sports performance. And so correct glute function is a massive deal in sports performance. I always tell people your glutes are your biggest muscle in your body. And so they play the biggest role in your body, right? We need those big muscles to be doing big jobs well. And if your glutes aren't doing the job that they should be doing, there's going to be imbalances and compensation patterns that can cause some pretty annoying problems. So with my athletic population, my athlete population, glutes play a massive performance role. But with my adult population, which we call lifestyle athletes, right? With my lifestyle athlete population, glutes play a big role in posture, which correct posture, as we all know, can decrease pain and all that stuff. So if your glutes aren't right, there can be a big domino effect into a whole bunch of different problems. So the biggest question that I will ask, I usually ask this right away in an eval with somebody, is when you do a lower body lift, where are you sore? And a lot of people will talk, about their quads. If people can get sore in their glutes from a normal, everyday, lower body strength workout, that's a great sign. Your glutes should be sore relatively frequently. If your glutes are never sore, that's a sign that they're not working correctly. If your quads are always sore, if your hamstrings are always sore, possibly even if your calves are sore constantly, then that tells me that your glutes aren't doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. So how do we address this? Ideally, you should be able to consciously feel your glutes during any lower body movement. Sometimes it does take a couple weeks to learn how to do that, but if you're intentional about learning this, it's not going to take forever, right? It really will. It'll take about a couple weeks for you to kind of train your body how to squeeze your glutes. So what we do in the warm-ups is really important, and then how we coach and cue strength movements is kind of the second half to this. But in the warm-ups, and this is almost universal, so even if we're doing an upper body day, there's going to be some type of glute activation movement in our warm-up. And glute activation, again, is kind of a trendy term these days, but basically all glute activation is it's a movement that has a conscious squeeze of your glutes, where you literally cannot cheat it. Okay, that's how I think about it. We're gonna force your glutes to turn on, to squeeze and activate, and you're gonna be using your neurological system to contract the muscles of your glutes. So in every single workout, in the warm-up section, there's gonna be some type of glute activation exercise. And I'll put links to a bunch of these examples in the bottom, but we use mini bands a lot to do that, because I always say mini bands they're glute training 101. You cannot cheat a mini band exercise. The mini band is going to force your glutes to work. So we use mini band exercises quite a bit. And then we use a bunch of different hip circle exercises, and then just some glute bridge variations as well. So and again, I'll put all those in the description so you can kind of flip through them. But in the warm-up, we're going to be doing some specific glute activation movements. If you're doing this in your warm-up every single day, that activation is going to get easier and easier and easier. You're going to be able to consciously squeeze your glutes at a moment's notice. Most people have neglected their glutes for so long that their brain doesn't even really know how to squeeze them. And you can apply this to any muscle group for sure, but this is a glute video, so we're talking about the glutes. But your brain should have an immediate control over the flexion of your glutes. Now, in the actual strength movements, of course there are certain exercises that will just naturally force your glutes to work harder than others, right? So like a hip bridge or a hip thrust from the floor with a barbell is going to be very, very glute dominant, as opposed to like some lunge variations. However, I personally, like if I'm coaching you in the gym, I am going to coach those glutes super, super hard. So I'm going to need those glutes to be working even on exercises that would typically be a little bit more quad dominant. That's how much I care about your glutes. So the exercise selection, it is important. You know, I find that Bulgarian split squats will hammer your glutes more often than not. Kettlebell swings will hammer your glutes more often than not. Trap bar deadlift can do the same. Reverse lunges with a barbell, specifically with a barbell, I feel will hammer your glutes. Those are all kind of like dummy-proof exercises for glute training from my experience. So the exercises that we select will certainly play a part in your glute development. But the second part of the strength section is a conscious squeeze. So while you're performing these exercises, I want you to be able to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can throughout the entire movement. Now, you're gonna find that there's gonna be a part in the movement, a section of the movement. Let's use an RDL as an example, because a lot of people will consider an RDL as like a hamstring dominant exercise, but again, I'm going to try to overemphasize the role that the glutes play in an RDL. So when someone's going through an RDL, at the bottom of the movement, your hamstrings are in their most lengthened position, okay? And most people will feel that movement in their hamstrings. I always tell people that an RDL is hamstrings to the bottom, glutes to the top, okay? At the bottom of the movement, you're gonna feel your hamstrings kind of tug and stretch. As soon as you feel that stretch, I want you to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, drive your hips forward, which is gonna pull that barbell straight vertical, okay? And as you sit back down into the RDL, your hamstrings lengthen again, you'll feel that stretch, squeeze your glutes, drive your hips forward. Take this concept through all of your lower body exercises, but as you practice this and as you become more aware of what the muscular system of your lower body is doing, I want you to be able to squeeze your glutes at 100% capacity throughout 100% of the movement. If your glutes are really causing you problems, you know, if they're really not doing their job, kind of on the extreme end, you can even find upper body exercises that include glute activation in them. Just as an example, a half off one arm bench press with a dumbbell, that's an exercise that we use pretty frequently that will force you to squeeze one side as you go through your press. And then a second one is like a decline floor press with dumbbells, which puts you into like a glute bridge iso hold through the duration of your press. So both of those exercises are just examples of upper body exercises that also incorporate glute activation. I would recommend that if your glutes are weak, that you address them in every single warm-up. As soon as you start your training session, get those glutes warmed up and firing appropriately. And then 2, during your strength movement, squeeze them. Keep them absolutely as tight as possible throughout the duration of the movement. And if you're doing those 2 things, proper warm up and then an overemphasize on the squeeze, over just a short amount of time, like I said, 10 to 14 days, your glutes are gonna be getting very, very sore. And as they're getting sore, that's just an external indicator that they're moving in the right direction, that they're getting stronger, that they're turning on. That's like a phrase that we use, but they're turning on a little bit more effectively. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And like I said, I cannot believe that it took me this long to make this video. But I hope you guys all have a great day. I hope your glutes are strong, and I will see you in the next video.